I thought I'd tell you a few stories. Somebody get out one of those hooks if you need to, because I could go on for a long time. But tomorrow is the first day of school, so I need to run home to tuck everybody in. But I wanted to just say a few things to you guys. So, as all of you know, well, I mean, there's so many places to go here. Howard Hughes is responsible for the epic building that is the TWA Terminal. He only spoke with Eero Saarinen, the architect, one time. I found this in an old, I read about 12 books on the history of TWA and the history of Howard Hughes to get involved in this project. And I found this one crazy off-the-run book by a guy named Noah Dietrich. If you've seen the movie The Aviator, right? He's the nerdy CFO. Some of you guys probably knew Noah Dietrich. He wrote a book, nobody bought it. I think they sold about 9 copies, but I found one of these things on eBay. I think I had to pay $100 for this paperback book. But in it, Noah Dietrich says, he talks about the time in 1956 when Howard Hughes was reading Time magazine, and Eero Saarinen was on the cover of Time magazine. And the article basically says he is America's architect. He had just done the St. Louis Arch and won the competition for that. He had been awarded Dulles. He had done the Tulip Chair, the Womb Chair. He had done the John Deere headquarters in Moline, Illinois, the IBM headquarters in Rochester, New York, the General Motors Technical Center. That's really what put him on the map in Detroit. He had done all these incredible buildings, and Howard Hughes picked up the phone and called Eero Saarinen and said, I want you to design the greatest airplane terminal the world has ever seen, and I don't care how much it costs.
That was Howard.
Right? So if you're an architect, that's the greatest commission of all time.
Yeah, an architect.
And true to form, the people wearing the green eye shades at TWA never value engineered the building. They let Eero Saarinen do whatever he wanted. They came in 4x the budget, 4 times over budget.
Yeah.
Wow. Worth every penny.
But what they got is an extraordinary building that was your home for about 40 years. Right? The shell is 66,000 square feet. That's 1.5 acres. It's the largest columnless volume in the world. When you go up and look at it, there's only 4 points of contact with the ground. The piers that hold up the shells. So the roof is the size of the roof of Madison Square Garden, but it's only got 4 points of contact with the ground. Eero Saarinen had to hire bridge engineers. It was called Amon and Whitney. They designed the Verrazano Narrows Bridge and then George Washington Bridge to design the shells of this building. You could never build anything like this today. Each one of the shells is a 30-hour concrete pour. It took them 2 years to build the formwork, and then to pour the concrete in the center of the formwork took 30 straight hours, because you can't pour half of it and then go home at 5 p.m. Right? That would leave a seam. Right? You got to pour the whole thing. So we have pictures of the concrete trucks lined up all the way down the Van Wyck. So there was I've talked to a couple people about this, a guy who I consider a friend, Lenny Cagno. Some of you may remember him. He passed away, I think 2 or 3 years ago, but he drove the bus from Hangar 12 to Terminal 5.
He did.
He drove the bus back and forth.
He did.
And he told me the most amazing stories because he knew all of you. He would drive you to Terminal 5, and you'd fly off to Rome, and stay there for 5 days and do a whole tour, and then fly back, and he would say, hey, how was the trip to Rome? And he told these great stories. He knew everybody who worked for TWA, whether they were pilots, flight attendants, pursers, everybody, right? Because everybody had to drive the bus from Hangar 12. So Lenny Cagno was very helpful in our entitlement process. We dealt with 22 government agencies to get this building put back into shape. It was deserted for 20 years and was sitting here, and they built around it. Right? They built the JetBlue terminal on one side, they built a jet blast fence on the other side, they built a parking garage on one side, and there was this lonely little building sitting here like a little island. So we had to find a place to put all the hotel rooms. We had to deal with 14 preservationist groups to bring the building back. And thank God for the preservationist groups. They saved the building from the bulldozer. We met with the preservationist groups. We had 36 meetings. Each meeting was between 2 and 4 hours long. And that was just one part of the process. Then there's the FAA part of the process and the Port Authority. Then we had to go through the New York City process called ULURP. That's where Lenny was very helpful to us. So TWA really came together as a family. He wore his TWA shirts in front of the Department of City Planning for New York City. And in front of us, there was some riot going on about, some very unpopular new entitlement going on. Behind us was another riot. And we kind of came in the middle, and Lenny told his story about how much he loved TWA. And the chairperson of the Department of City Planning, which is a very important agency in New York, said, Mr. Cagno, thank you for bringing the joy back to the Department of City Planning.
Oh, wow.
So then I thought I'd tell you a little story about our airplane, the Connie, which is November 8083 Hotel. So I'm so pleased that in the aircraft language that there's a hotel in there, right? I figured that was prescient for this plane to come back here. So our plane flew, actually was in TWA livery from 1958 to 1963. Was retired quickly in 63 when the 707 came out, right, and the Connie was outmoded. Was an Alaskan bush plane from 63 to 73. Went up and was delivering oil field workers to Prudhoe Bay in the North Slope. The Alaskans retired her in 73, and then she ran drugs for a bunch of South American drug dealers from 73 to 83. One of the drug dealers crashed the plane off the side of the runway in San Pedro Sula, Honduras. Sold the plane for $150 to another drug dealer and said it's an as-is, where-is deal. You can get it out of the ditch, you can have her. So he got her out of the ditch, ran a few more drugs, ended up getting ferried to Florida, was purchased by a guy named Maurice Roundy, who was collecting Constellations at the time. He flew it to Maine. He was probably jailed for tax evasion. So at that time, the federal government repossessed the plane. It was sold at auction, at federal auction, to Lufthansa. Lufthansa bought 3 of them. They were going to create an airworthy one because after World War II ended and during the Marshall Plan, Germany was not allowed to have a flag carrier. In 1955, the Allies decided that Germany had behaved and they were worthy of having a flag carrier. That was Lufthansa. So the chairman of Lufthansa wanted to bring back a Connie because the Connie signified to the German people that the war was truly over in 1955. Well, that was a terrific idea. It's very hard to bring a 1958 aircraft back to 2017 FAA standards. So they did not get to the finish line on that thing. We bought the airplane from Lufthansa, restored it in Auburn, Lewiston, Maine, and brought it down I-95, 328 miles. Some of you may have seen the publicity when we brought her through Times Square. Right, so we brought her all the way to JFK.
Thank you.
And said, you know what? Connie wants to see the bright lights of the big city one last time before she goes to her permanent home out at JFK. So she put on her best dress and she put on her pearls and she went into Manhattan and was parked in Times Square for the better part of 3 days.
Great, all right.
this project has been a real joy for me and my wife and 2 daughters. My wife calls this project our 3rd child. So it's fabulous that our 3rd child, I feel like she's now in kindergarten, and right, she's getting better every day, growing and learning every day. So I'm having a ton of fun. Thank you guys for honoring us with your event here and coming all the way out. You know, I look forward to spending time with you guys over the upcoming years. But thank you for everything you did for TWA and for making it such a wonderful carrier that the world knows and the world will know forever.
Thank you.
Thank you.